Coming up next on Arizona Horizons, Journalists Roundtable. An Arizona inmate is executed in a procedure that does not go as planned. And we'll recap this week's Clean Elections Republican gubernatorial primary debate as seen here on Arizona Horizon. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital Times, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Steve Goldstein of KJZZ Radio. The state is reviewing its procedures for executing condemned inmates, this after problems in administering the ultimate punishment to a double murderer this week. What the heck went on down there in Florence, Jeremy?
Well, they're still trying to figure out exactly how it happened, but what happened is Joseph Wood was scheduled to die by lethal injection. They administered drugs. These are new drugs that my understanding is we hadn't used that before, some of them. And these things normally take about 15 minutes. This took a shade under 2 hours. Witnesses could see him gasping about 640 times, according to one reporter, mouth opening, kind of gulping like a fish, according to another, chest going up and down. It went on long enough for his lawyers to call a federal judge and demand that he halt the execution in the middle of it, which that call only ended because he finally died after about an hour and 50-something minutes.
And the fascinating thing is, Department of Corrections is reacting badly to the term botched, which was the term a lot of folks use, top of the paper. Well, okay, botched has maybe some connotations, but unless you plan for that execution to take 2 hours, something went horribly wrong. Now, I recognize they've had problems getting the kinds of drugs they need. Some of them have been declared off limits and illegal. Some of them you can't get companies to supply. And so they've been casting about to have something first to put him to sleep, and they insist that he was really asleep and felt nothing after that, that this was just brainstem activity. Well, the problem is the only person who knows what he was feeling is, as they say, unavailable for comment.
That's why ultimately the botched thing becomes controversial, because ultimately, even if we're used to 15 minutes, the job such as it was done. Governor Brewer has said she wants a full investigation. The Attorney General's office won't be looking into more executions until we figure out what happened in this case. It's sort of befuddling, but it also leads to more debate on whether the death penalty should be administered, how it should be administered, and as Howie said, this complication of the drugs and whether the availability and whether we even know what those drugs are, really creating a mishmash.
And there are a lot of questions over, whether he was in pain. It looked like he was in pain to some. Others say he wasn't. The Department of Corrections, Chuck Ryan, said, "Oh, don't be so quick to jump to that conclusion." It took the governor's office about 90 minutes to say that he didn't die in pain, but to a greater or lesser degree, it almost doesn't matter from the state's perspective, because you cannot execute more people in Arizona until you figure out how to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, you can't, because right now the Attorney General's office is saying they're not going to go for any warrants. But Howie, when the microphone was on, the witnesses said it sounded like he was snoring.
Well, that's the problem is, we're trying to interpret something. None of us are veterans at witnessing executions. Was it a gasp? Was it a snore? Was he sleeping? Well, unless you've got something to compare it to, it's real hard to tell. You can't. This isn't like the gas chambers that we were using 20, 30 years ago, where you can clearly see somebody gasping. You've got this question, as Jeremy points out, the nature of the death penalty and how do you administer it. It even led to Alex Kozinski, who's the Chief Justice for the Ninth Circuit, saying, look, let's stop pretending that we're doing the niceties here. We can go back to shooting people, we can go back to hanging or something like that. If we're going to have a death penalty, then we have to decide, is the purpose punishment? Is it simply to end the person's life so they never get out? And if so, where does pain fit in terms of cruel and unusual?
This is not a process that is totally masked in secrecy, but I think it's interesting to note that, not to cast aspersions on the executioner, whoever that person may have been, but you have so much controversy within the medical community as far as who can take part and administer these drugs that in some cases, think about anesthesiologists, will be bounced from the profession if they take part. Does that cause problems in and of itself? Do people, even if they find the vein, are there some issues that people aren't quite the people who should be administering this, and yet then the Hippocratic Oath comes into
Indeed,
effect?
Supplier, administrator, all anonymous as prescribed. So where do we go from here on this? I mean, and again, the political fallout from this, the governor basically says he didn't suffer, yet the judge that they called was saying, you got anything hooked up to him to make sure about something like that?
And not only that, you even had John McCain saying, based on what he saw and heard, he called it torture. Now, I think at this point, leaving aside whether the AG is going to ask for any warrants of execution, I think the Supreme Court isn't going to do anything. They've asked to preserve the drugs, any of the evidence. They want to be sure that you don't have an Eighth Amendment cruel and unusual punishment going on here. They're not willing to say death penalty is off the table, but they want to make sure it's administered properly. And we're going to have a big hassle between now and the next case, no matter what the AG decides, no matter what the governor decides.
Ted, I'm willing to sound naive on your show when I say this. I don't know how many of us at this table have put an animal to sleep. I have done it several times, and it always looks very peaceful, very simple. I realize we're talking about smaller creatures that have a different makeup in their body. I'm not really sure why, if we want to avoid the cruel and unusual aspect of that, we can't find something somewhat simple.
Curiously enough, I asked somebody at the Department of Corrections about that, and they said part of the problem is that the medications that veterinarians can legally buy have been made off limits by these drug companies for humans. So that's why we're experimenting here. I mean, we really are doing a science experiment with humans.
And let's not forget the family's response, the family of the victim's response. They were based, I think one of the gentlemen there said, why didn't they give him a bullet? Why not make him drink Drano or inject him with Drano? I mean, we're all sitting around here debating, everyone's debating whether this was the right thing, was it botched or not botched, and the family members of the victims, they're saying, who cares?
Well, and that's more or less why there's still so much support for the death penalty, I think, still, is that ultimately you're talking about, horrible people who did horrible things, and a lot of people just don't care whether or not they suffer at all, or especially if they suffered a little or suffered a lot of them would prefer to see them suffer.
But it's still down to the fact that the courts in this country have determined the purpose of the death penalty is to A, prevent that person from doing it again, and B, maybe deterrence. It is not to punish. And as long as that remains the law of the land, the issue of suffering will be a legal point. Whether the family likes it or not, that's the nature of it.
All right, so again, nothing will happen now as far as the Attorney General's office is concerned regarding warrants until this, how long this review is going to take?
Not sure. I don't think they've said. They probably don't know. It's going to take until they figure out why this happened and how they can stop it from happening again.
All right. Howie, the governor's debate, as seen here on Arizona Horizon,
Yes.
Moderated, I thought, artfully.
Artfully, yes. Some dude, slightly graying hair.
That's him.
Cute.
Relatively lively exchange on all sides.
Nice exchange. And of course, what's fascinating is, for a lot of us, we've heard for years, the issue is the economy. While the unemployment rate is coming down, we still have a lot of people who are looking for work. We have an underemployment rate. We have folks who have stopped looking. And yet the answer by half of the candidates to you ask them a question about the economy is, oh, it's all about the border. This started off, obviously, with Andy Thomas, who said, well, every job that's been created in this country since 2000 has been taken by legal and illegal immigrants. I'm not sure I'm buying that, but it's an interesting question. And he says once we kill immigration, including legal, apparently from his perspective, then our economy will improve.
Should mention that particular statement drew a very quick response from Mr. Riggs, and it seemed like Mr. Thomas and Mr. Riggs,
yes,
they were going after each other more than anybody else.
Well, and it's funny when we look at the horse race aspects of these things, where most people anticipate, obviously we don't know, a lot of undecided, most people anticipate those two being at the bottom, and they're both fighting. If we look at Frank Riggs' campaign signs, it's either stop Common Core or stop illegal immigration, basically very simple messages. They really took a lot of attention out of this. And I'm also thinking, because it's monsoon season, Ted, thinking maybe we're kind of in the perfect storm of unaccompanied minors coming. Has Andrew Thomas come back to life to either be a spoiler or cause even more craziness?
What'd you make of the debate?
Well, I've been to probably almost a dozen of these candidate forums, and they're usually pretty tame because they're not debates, they don't address each other. This time, this is a full-on debate. They get to yell at each other, interrupt each other, talk over each other, and you saw a lot of that not just between Thomas and Riggs, but between the top-tier candidates as well. Ducey and Jones arguing over some attack ads that Jones started airing against her that day on her border security plan. Smith arguing with people. And it was interesting that illegal immigration dominated that, because that has been Christine Jones's bailiwick since pretty much the beginning of the campaign.
And one of the big keys is Smith was put in a position, even though some of the others like Riggs did and Bennett danced around it, is saying to all these folks, look, everybody's got a plan. We're going to put the guard on the border. We're going to build fence. And he finally said, and you're going to pay for it with what? The magic wand. In fact, there's three people who use that magic wand line during the debate. And he said, you've got to be realistic about this, that this remains a federal responsibility, that there may be things the governor can do, but where is the realism? You know, we have a budget deficit, folks.
At the end, I think Smith called these empty promises, which is interesting. It's sobering and it's refreshing. Is that the kind of thing that Republican voters want to hear?
Scott Smith is in a strange position. I think people claim they want to hear that, but he's in a position where Jeremy wrote a great piece about this, where is Smith getting his message out enough, or is he being buried by the money from Ducey and Jones? They may want to hear that message, but they may not buy it.
Yeah, Smith was always viewed as a major contender in this race, and I think that might be slipping away a little bit now because of that money aspect. He's raised more than $1 million, but when Ducey and Jones both have more than twice that, plus independent expenditures with a lot of money, throwing ads around, that makes it a lot more difficult. He's putting out web videos for the past couple of weeks, which some people think are cute, but you're not seeing that from Ducey and Jones because they're on television, and he's not even on the air for the past few weeks.
He needs the proverbial magic bullet. Now, what might help him would be an endorsement from the governor. I mean, he clearly is aligned with her, supports her Medicaid expansion, supports Common Core, whatever we're calling it these days. Yet she's been strangely silent, and I don't know whether, while she likes his position, she's afraid of endorsing somebody who's going to ultimately lose. And she may end up saying, do I want to get into this at all? But without that, and without the money, as Jeremy points out, he's going to end up a distant third.
And it may be the same thing with independent expenditure support. I think at the beginning of this campaign, everyone, and myself included, expected Smith to get a lot of that outside money support. Because if you look at the business community, it's pretty much split down the middle between Smith and Ducey. A lot of people with a lot of money who have a lot of friends with a lot of money supporting him. You figured they'd put together some of that money and put on some TV ads. We haven't seen that so far, and the clock is really running out now. So I know there's some people who feel like maybe the people who might have been willing to do that are saying, well, you're getting further and further out of the lead.
Sure.
Maybe we're not willing to commit that money.
Early
now.
voting starts next week. I mean, we don't have a lot of time to move the needle, folks.
We also got some numbers on independent registered voters, and I know independents are not moderates, we know, but some are. And is that Scott Smith, with all the undecided, is that going to help Scott Smith in some sense? Will some of those folks go for Andy Thomas? Some might go for Scott Smith.
And we've talked about the debate. We've talked about all the candidates except for one. Where is Ken Bennett in this race?
Well, what's interesting is the poor fool who on our year-end show said, oh, Ken Bennett's going to be the Republican nominee. I apologize. He's been a non-entity.
Why? What's going on?
Well, one is money. He's running with public money. He's going to have $750,000. He's got to spread out. No more money, no independent expenditures on his behalf that we've been able to identify, not even attacking him, so he doesn't have the visibility there. He's very good at retail politics. I mean, he's very good at showing up at veterans groups and little groups and pulling people in 3 at a time. Well, you can't do 3 at a time and expect to lose it. He also, I think, was not counting on this being a 6-way race, and that he thought that his name ID would carry him. It just hasn't happened.
I'm told that they have ads. Bennett's the only candidate who hasn't gone on TV, but I'm told that will change probably soon, next week, when early ballots are coming out. As you mentioned, how he gets clean elections money, which is about $753,000. He raise another 50 or so in seed money. That's not a lot for a TV budget, but his campaign folks tell me he's really hasn't spent very much. That is about 3/4 of it left, and they think that's enough for a pretty good TV buy. The problem is that Ducey and Jones have money for pretty good TV buys too, as do their IEs, as does maybe Smith, and who knows who else.
The fact that Bennett doesn't have an IE, he's really trying to play good candidate. And the IEs tend to help you play bad candidate, and you can say, I don't know what's going on. He's in a position where he's coming across as a really nice guy who was elected Secretary of State. No one's mentioned the President Obama birth certificate thing yet. If he becomes a contender, they might throw that out there. And it's a clear sign, the guys mentioned the ads, Ducey and Jones or their surrogates are going after each other, nobody else. So that's a sign, at least they think internally, it's head-to-head, those two.
And again, you can think all you want internally, but the undecideds, Jeremy, the undecided candidate is winning this race hugely.
Yeah, depending on which poll you believe, and a lot of people don't really believe any of them because they're mostly coming from groups that are supportive of one candidate or the other, especially a lot from the pro-Ducey groups. But depending on the poll, you see anywhere from around 20% to 45% undecided, and which one you believe depends on which campaign and which operative you talk to. But still, if the higher that number goes, the more uncertainty there is, and the more room there is for a Smith or a Bennett, at least if they can kind of get their acts together, to climb back up into that top tier.
And that gets back to the point about the independents. I talked to Helen Purcell this week. Last year, 45,000 independents voted in the whole primary. She already has early ballot requests for 50,000 independents, not counting those who are on the permanent early voting list. So if they really do turn out, and assuming, for argument's sake, that independents tend to reject both extremes, that may be who he needs to appeal to. That may be who Scott Smith needs to appeal to. Now that gets down to the issue of do Smith and Bennett Smith this quote-unquote moderate vote.
Right. All right. Speaking of the gubernatorial candidates, what is a patent line, and what does it have to do with Arizona?
It will have something to do with Arizona if Andy Thomas is elected governor. The patent line is his patented plan for securing the border. It is 3,000 National Guard troops along the border and fencing along the entire 376-mile length of it. Now, there are a couple of fallback plans. One is that to build a fence along the entire border, most of that land is federal land or tribal land. You need their permission, and historically, they don't give that. So he has a fallback line for the patent line, which goes around all, the Tohono O'odham Reservation, around the federal land, basically fences off a massive chunk of southern Arizona with checkpoints on the roads.
And this will be paid for how?
That's a great question, Ted. He's saying that he's going to make it so we freeze who's getting access, which I'm just going down to the boiling point here, that the feds don't tend to like to approve changes like this. So he's saying that. I'm also wondering, since he says he wants to be an education supporter, what about that $317 million the courts say the state has to come up with too? Does any of that go?
Well, this is fascinating because this comes back to the debate, because you tried to pin any of them down to what are you going to do? You have at least $330 million that you need just to reset the base, plus a $1.7 billion hit if you do it. Nobody seems to have a plan. Well, we should comply with what the courts tell us. And that is a big unknown.
That's
in
not
this
a
whole
plan.
thing.
That's not a what would you do.
No.
You were right. What would you do just seemed to go on, well, the courts still have to decide. Well, they're going to decide, and you're going to have to do something. I believe he said $60 million a year for the fence, and then $10 million a year for the Guard, National Guard, and then $10 million a year for 5 years. For $10 million every year for 5 years for a fence?
Now, that is nowhere near what something like this would cost, of course, according to pretty much any estimate. You may recall we had a state legislator a few years ago who put together a fund to try and raise what he said was a $50 million pool for a border fence. Now, according to my research after that, we have a 376-mile border. Double steel fencing, like Andy Thomas is talking about, would cost at least $1.2 million per mile, according to some of the most modest government estimates, which means you're way undershooting the cost of this fence which would go, of course, the entire way. Christine Jones wants partial fencing. She says, we don't need the Great Wall of Mexico. Andy Thomas disagrees, but that costs a lot more than $50 million.
And one of the things I think we've all heard Ducey and Jones both talk about is the fact that, okay, we're big on border security, but we also don't want to forget that Mexico is a major trading partner for us. This Thomas plan sounds like that's being thrown into the breeze.
Oh, no, see, I love the Thomas plan because if you look at the map, depending on where he's drawing the lines, I think Tucson could wind up on the other side of the fence, which I'll tell you would keep the Tucsonans quite happy, as it were.
Just make sure you knock on the fence before you want to come in.
Yes.
We'll grant it. How does this play in a Republican primary?
Well, given that with what happened in the Rio Grande Valley, that this has become the new hot button issue, people are looking for a solution. They don't know what the problem is. Now, never mind, the problem is not here in Nogales or through the Tohono O'odham Reservation. The problem is folks coming up through the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm not quite sure how the fence here helps that. But it plays. People are frustrated, and you have people, including our governor, throwing gasoline on the fire and insisting something be done.
These are the same folks, though, who wanted to get rid of John McCain, who fought against him in precinct committee meetings, got him reprimanded in some ways. Ultimately, you still have a majority of people who don't care about that. When you have Andy Thomas putting out commercials, Ted, where the Arizona flag is covered by the Mexican flag, and then there's like a Ghostbusters sign through it, that doesn't look great.
Well, and this brings up Plan B for this patent line. The Plan B is to ask the voters through a special election to go ahead and fund it for us. Could that pass?
Not if you're going to reallocate other voter-approved funds, which I think Mr. Thomas has also said he wants to do.
Yeah, in the end, this is all kind of an academic exercise because Thomas, I think, is probably going to be more or less a non-entity when all the ballots are counted on August 26th. But the more attention he brings to this issue, the more interested to be among the Republican primary voters who really do care about this. It still polls as a top issue, and that could, at least on the margins, potentially pull some votes away from other candidates. I think especially Christine Jones, who's made border security kind of the centerpiece of her campaign.
Well, here's where we come up. We're going to wake up on the morning of August 27th. We're going to have a Republican nominee, possibly somebody who is, let's seal off the border. And for the vast majority of Arizonans who don't see this as the burning issue, how does that affect it? Does that leave a crippled person? Now, we always hear about people, in the primary, you run to the edges and then run back to the center. Can you run back to the center after saying we're going to build a 370-mile wall?
All right, we talked about the Republican debate here, the primary debate last week. On Monday, we have the Attorney General Republican primary debate. We have Mr. Horn and Mr. Brnovich. That should be interesting. What does Tom Horn have to do? What does Mark Brnovich have to do?
Well, they're both trying to play the more conservative card here. And I think in Horn's case, he's trying to hide everything he can, whether it comes from his personal life, whether it comes from investigations, campaign finance, alleged campaign finance violations. Brnovich is trying to make himself as almost like Bill Montgomery. Bill Montgomery came in after the Andrew Thomas debacle. I'm going to come in, I'm going to be a straight shooter, I'm going to come in and do the job. This will be a competent office and it won't be controversial.
Is that what Mark Brnovich has to do, or does he have to keep pounding away on Mr. Horn's frailties?
Well, I think to a certain extent it becomes, if he just shuts up, he does pretty well. The Horn thing, we've said it over and over around this table, it continues to bleed. We have two cases in Superior Court involving this. One his suit against the Clean Election Commission, one his appeal of the 2010 race. We have, and every time these stories come up, that mentions, the FBI was following him, which gets into sneaking around in his gold Jaguar with the baseball cap so nobody recognizes him, the hit and run accident, and all continues to bleed.
With that in mind, though, then what does Tom Horn have to do in a debate in the campaign? Because, the Arizona Republic is basically saying, if you want to win, don't go with this guy.
And I'm not sure what Tom Horn can do that he hasn't done already. He spent the last 2 years saying they're out to get me, it's the establishment, it's the media, it's the liberals, I'm being persecuted here. But he's said it as many times as he can say it, pretty much. If you don't believe it now, I don't know what he can do to convince you.
I'll tell you what he needs to do, and perhaps not in this forum, is say, look, whatever you think of my personal life, and I don't see him saying this, look at my record in the last 4 years. Look at what I've done. Look at the money I've gathered in RICO. Look at the people we've put behind bars. Look at the things we've defended in federal court, even on the immigration issues. And judge me on what I've done, not what happens outside the office.
And that's what he's been doing for the last 2 years, since he's really been under fire, is pointing to his record. He's been a pretty conservative attorney general. Ironic considering in 2010 when he ran against Andy Thomas, he was to the conservative base, he was the squishy rhino in the race. Now he's the conservative firebrand, and they're rallying around him. They like him.
But again, I think we're in a position where power goes to people's heads. I think we've seen that before, and I think Horn doesn't really realize. He's a smart guy. I really don't think he realizes how the general voting public, especially conservative folks, feel about him. There are other very conservative candidates who could get away with this because the base likes them. Horn has never really been liked by the base.
But in your strategy for Tom Horn, I think John Huppenthal is trying to use that strategy.
Sure.
And everyone is going back to, but what did you mean when you called them lazy pigs?
Understood. But if you're asking me what does he have left to do, look, there aren't a lot of cards for Tom Horn to play any more than a lot of cards for John Huppenthal to play other than their record. Here's what I've done. Judge me based on that. Judge, is Arizona safer? Is Arizona protected from mortgage fraud? What have I done? And lay that out. And here's the other thing he's got going for him, though. Brnovich is still out there looking for $5 donations. Horn will outspend him by a lot.
From a strategic point of view, okay, we all saw Horn just squeak out past Rodolini 4 years ago. But Horn wins races. Brnovich has never won a race. That may be his arguing point. I can win this.
All right, we got to stop it right there, and we will see what happens Monday night here on Arizona Horizon. And Monday on Arizona Horizon, we do have that debate between the two Republican candidates running in the GOP primary for Attorney General. That's Monday evening, 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, we'll look at plans to combine commerce, trade, and transportation in Arizona. Wednesday, a look at the future of job creation, both statewide and nationally. Thursday, another debate, this time between Republican primary candidates in Congressional District 9. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.